The Pacific Garbage Patch, also known as the Pacific Trash Vortex, is a gyre of marine debris particles in the central North Pacific Ocean. It extends over an indeterminate area with estimates ranging very widely depending on the degree of plastic concentration used to define the affected area. The patch is characterized by exceptionally high concentrations of plastics, chemical sludge, and other debris that have been trapped by the currents of the North Pacific Gyre. Since plastics break down to even smaller polymers, concentrations of submerged particles are not visible from space, nor do they appear as a continuous debris field to the human eye. Although the Pacific Garbage Patch's existence is undisputed, activists and organizations use rhetorical frames and the Stacy's theory in order to effectively push the reality of the problem to the general public with different strategies. They do this by trying to help us understand the total amount of trash in the ocean. We will first go over their use of rhetorical frames. The first example is the use of a rising emotion. One way they do this is by their choice of shots for videos and photographs. Examples are bird stomachs filled with trash and turtles entangled in ropes. Marine wildlife is very important to the ecosystem, so feeling like we are harming these animals causes a lot of guilt. Another example of frames used is numbers. Numbers are the most basic way to explain things because they easily get the message across, especially when relating it to objects that we are very familiar with. Boyan Slat, a diver very familiar with the ocean, uses framing through descriptions of his own personal experiences. He proves he has the solution through distinct photos of a cleanup array and claims it could eliminate about 99.98% of the current trash in the ocean. Now that's precise. Slack concludes with possibly the most alluring type of frame of them all. He states that the key thing is that only if we realize change is more important than money, money will come. Using the terms profit or money is ultimately the best and most effective way to make people want to be a part of the change. Word choices are very important when trying to convince people about a problem. The Stacy's theory asks writers to address 4 questions to define analyses of the issues at hand. These include: did something happen, and what are the facts? What is the nature of the problem or issue? How serious is the issue, and is it a good or bad thing? And lastly, should action be taken, and if so, by whom? In relation to the Pacific Garbage Patch, writers and ocean advocates mainly focus on fact, definition, and quality, while not really touching on policy. The reason why writers don't touch on policy is because nobody will take responsibility for the trash in the middle of the ocean. Captain Charles Moore, the original discoverer of the PGP, repeatedly uses Stacy's to prove the existence of the Pacific Garbage Patch and its effect on Mother Earth. He focuses on fact by explaining the PGP as a massive amount of plastic accumulated in the ocean over a long period of time. It is mainly stuck in the gyres, which is a swirling vortex of ocean currents. Once plastic enters these gyres, it's definitely going to have a hard time getting out. He gives his estimates of how much garbage is currently in the ocean and explains that most people have not seen these amounts of plastic in their life. He introduces definition by stating that plastic is non-biodegradable, therefore staying in the environment for at least 20 years. The most powerful and in-depth Stacy's writers focus on is quality, which describes how serious this issue is and who it really affects. Since fish are low on the food chain, these toxins enter many different species, including humans. Moore explains 1 out of 4 male swordfish in the Mediterranean are producing female egg yolk hormones. Coincidentally, they mention that many Eskimo women notoriously known for their love of seafood are also being found with correlated toxins in their breast milk. By using these facts, it helps others understand the consequences of our actions to not only marine species, but also humans. At the end of the film, he barely touches on policy. Moore explains that it's the symbol of the wrong direction that we're taking as a society, as a whole, because we wrap things in plastic that don't need to be. Why buy a lettuce head wrapped in plastic when you can just peel the outer layer off? Since it's almost impossible to fully clear the ocean, the crew states that we must simply learn how to survive with it there. We have got to somehow allow ourselves to be resilient to this issue while sustaining all species on Earth. Rhetoricians successfully use frames and the Stacy's theory to explain the severity of the PGP. Now, the next step is to focus on policy and find ways to convince people it's their responsibility.